Should you buy Ghost Recon Wildlands in 2026? Well, if you're on PC, I would say steer clear of this game, especially if you have a newer computer. Otherwise, if you want to play the game, play it on console, and I would say to wait for a sale. I was going to do a sort of full retrospective video for Ghost Recon Wildlands. However, I've had so many issues with this game, just trying to get it to even run, that I cannot in good faith recommend playing this game at this moment in time. We're going to go over why that is here in just a little bit. There will be timestamps down below. For the 25th anniversary of Ghost Recon, Ubisoft has gone through and given people quite a few different things throughout the series. When they announced all this stuff, they gave people Ghost Recon Future Soldier for free, and that game had some issues running itself, but that is an older game from like the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, early 2010s maybe, that, you know, I can understand not working too well with modern hardware, but they gave it for free. And I have a fix on my channel for anybody who has the game trying to play it and they're seeing like stuttering or hitching. I have a fix of how I fixed it on my channel if you want to go check that out. They gave away Ghost Recon Future Soldier for free to own for a certain time frame. If you claimed it during a certain amount of time, you got to keep it. However, they did make some games free to play for a certain amount of time, so that way you could go in and try them out, and if you wanted to buy them, you could buy them. They also made some updates to Ghost Recon Wildlands, specifically putting in 4K, higher resolution, higher frame rate, specifically I think for console, but they also added in a new DLC story completely for free. So I've tried to play the game one other time before, and I'll tell you why I tried and did not do that last time here in a little bit. But I've been playing, I've got about 12 hours into it this time around. So here is my very quick review of what little I've actually played of the game. It's actually a really fun game. It's pretty good. It's big, it's open world, there's a lot to do. I think the gunplay is tight, the weapons are nice, the map is absolutely expansive and massive. There is an okay stealth system. However, I think stealth has a few issues in so much as the alertness of different enemies. Now, I'm playing on the normal difficulty, so it shouldn't be that difficult, but it does have this issue where enemies will pretty much alert entire camps if they see you immediately. There's very little grace period to be able to kill those enemies after they've seen you before they alert everybody else, so you've got to be pretty quick about it. And of course, like with most Ubisoft stealth, sometimes you'll just get seen through walls and stuff like that, but it is what it is. It's okay. The story is fairly simple, at least in the beginning, but it's fairly interesting. And with as massive of a world as this is, traversal is very much dependent on vehicles. And in my opinion, driving cars and flying helicopters and stuff using mouse and keyboard just ain't it. It's not very good. It's a little bit janky in my opinion. The world itself is relatively bland, at least in some of the earlier sections. It is overly huge. It's almost too big of a world with not a ton in it. And most of the things that you're going to be doing are going to areas that are marked on the map for you, and everything else is just kind of empty. So that's a thing. There's a lot of traversal over just empty terrain. But overall, the game itself is a pretty decent, fun time, especially once you actually get into the stealth and combat sections. It is large portions of traveling, and then you do have options for stealth and combat and stuff like that. And it's like I said, it's halfway decent. It's a pretty good game. So here are the issues with the game, and this is why I am saying that you should not be buying this, especially right now if you're on PC. If you go to Steam and you look at the Steam page, currently right now it is sitting at 58% mixed recent reviews, and all of those reviews stem from the most recent update. So I've got a list of issues here with the game, and I'm going to go through all of the issues that I've run into. If you've run into issues and you've played the game, put them in the comments down below. But most of these I think are PC specific, with the exception of a couple of things that we'll talk about near the end. So the first thing, this game does not work well with more modern CPUs. So anything that has, let's say like with Intel chips, anything that has P or E cores, this game doesn't like it. And it's very well documented on Reddit, on freaking Steam, that this game takes forever to start up and to load. For some people, it never gets past the splash screen that shows up in the beginning. Every time I start this game, I have to sit there and wait 2 to 3, maybe 5 minutes before the game itself will even actually start and get past the splash screen. Now, my chip is an Intel i7-13700K, so that's probably why. And from what I've seen, the fix for this is that you have to go into your BIOS and disable hyperthreading. I don't recommend doing that, and I definitely don't recommend poking around the BIOS if you are someone who doesn't really know what they're doing. There's a lot you can do in the BIOS to absolutely mess up your computer, and if you don't know what you're doing, I would just recommend not even bothering with it. The next issue is Ubisoft Connect. So I believe that the worst storefront of any game maker is Ubisoft Connect. And the reason for that is because, for me, sometimes there are 2 versions of Ubisoft Connect. I think a few videos ago, it might have been my Darksiders video, I said that my internet went out for about 6 days. And so the only thing I could do was play games in offline mode in Steam. And apparently Ubisoft Connect supposedly has an offline mode as well. And when I went to go and look up how to access their offline mode, well, I was using my phone, it was telling me to click certain things on my Ubisoft Connect to go in and enable it and do all this, that, and the other. I didn't have those options. When I was looking at my Ubisoft Connect, on the left-hand side of the screen, if you have it yourself, you can see this. For me, it'll say my name, then it'll say home, and then library. That's all I had. However, if I were to X out of Ubisoft Connect and then start it back up, I actually now have 4 options. So they've added in 2 new options, and the front page of the home screen actually changes. So now I have my name, home, library, store, and Ubisoft Plus. So for some reason, I get 2 different versions of the same exact program, and it actually affects the performance of my version of Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now, I bought the game through Steam, which means it launches through Steam, then it goes through Ubisoft Connect, and then it launches, I think, there. So here's what happens. If I launch Ghost Recon Wildlands and the version of Ubisoft Connect that I have currently active is the version that only has 2 options on the left-hand side, my game will have stuttering and hitching issues constantly. Every 2 to 3 seconds, my game, the performance is abysmal. It's terrible. I've set the game to launch as DX11. I've set the game to run as administrator. I have set the game compatibility to Windows 7 even. All of these issues still remain. However, if I restart Ubisoft Connect and I get the version that has all 4 options on the left-hand side, the game runs perfectly fine for a certain amount of time. We'll talk about that in a minute. So whichever version of Ubisoft Connect that I currently have active, it actually affects the performance of my game. One version makes it unplayable. The other version is just fine and super playable. My hardware is more than powerful enough to deal with this game, but for some reason, Ubisoft Connect ruins it. Then, once I actually do get the game to run well, because I have gotten the correct version of Connect going, the game will always crash anywhere between an hour and a half or 2 hours of play. It will always crash no matter what. This is an issue that a lot of people have been talking about. If you actually go and look in the Steam reviews, people are complaining about this exact same thing. It's really bad, and it only gets worse from here. The next issue, the very first time I played this game back a few years ago, I think I tried to play it in 2022 or 23. I played the game for about 6 hours. Started it, I got pretty far into the first area, logged off for the day, went to bed, came back the next day, booted it up, and it did not save any of my progress. When I came back, all of the progress was gone. I was just in the first cutscene after the character creation. So I went and looked this up. This is an issue that can happen whether you have played the game for 3 hours or if you've played the game for 3,000 hours. There are people who have reported that they have lost their 100+ hour game just because the save file disappeared. So this isn't just a me thing, it's very well documented. And then on top of that, the same issue showed up in the sequel game, Breakpoint, I think is what it's called, where it wouldn't save there either. So they've had this issue. I don't think it's ever been fixed. So every time you're playing, you're gambling with your save file. Part of me wonders if this isn't tied to Ubisoft Connect as well in some way. It might be, I don't actually know, but it's really bad and they've never fixed it. It's still an issue. It's really, really unfortunate. Now let's get into where it gets worse. This is where the greed starts to come in. One of the things that they did was that when they put this out, they put out a definitive edition. So the definitive edition of the game is $100. This game came out in 2017. It's almost 10 years old, and it's still, the base version of it is $50. Now, I bought my version of it for like $4, $5 on a big Steam summer sale or something like that. $100 for a almost 10-year-old game is freaking crazy. Now, what is in the definitive edition? It's actually just a bunch of DLC and cosmetic packs. A lot of people are saying it's not actually worth it. Some of those missions aren't very good. It's a lot of money. And here's where it gets even worse. And this is where we're going to look at some of the Steam reviews here, because some people who have a lot more time in this game than I do have really documented this very well. So there used to be premium currency that you could earn in the game itself through playing dailies and weekly challenges. And all of the items and cosmetics and weapon skins and stuff like that, you could unlock and earn those through doing those daily and weekly challenges and earning the currency to get them. Those items were available for free, technically, if you put the time in. However, with the new update, all of that free content that you could earn in-game was put behind a paywall. So they have now, at the time of this recording, they have removed those challenges and then the ability to get that currency to unlock those items. So you can only earn those items through buying them with real money now. There were also loot crates in this game, and according to this review here on Steam, it says, even if I bought what I could, it looks like I'll permanently be stuck with 75 of the premium currency because nothing in the store deals in denominations of less than 100. In addition, it looks like any previously crate-related items that remain locked are now fully paywalled in the store and can now only be bought via microtransaction purchased credits, because apparently they removed the 3 different types of loot crates that you could unlock the cosmetic items through. So they took previously earnable content and paywalled it with this new update. What the living crap, dude? That is so bad. And somebody else here says, in order to play the game in its original form, you now have to pirate the game. So if you wanted to play the game the way it was before this update, you'd have to get a pirated version of this game in order to do it. So people are really, really mad. And then about just not only this, but also down here it says, you released a gigantic update in 2026 and didn't fix the issues stopping people from playing the game on modern hardware. There are people who are still having to fumble around in the BIOS to play your game, and you gave 4K support to modern consoles instead of a small fix to make the game playable for PC players. Next one down, game still doesn't work on newer Intel CPUs, stuck on an endless loading screen. The game is great, but currently downvoting since it doesn't work. They have 141 hours in it. So people are, in my opinion, rightfully pissed off that previously free content is now being paywalled. That is some turbo scummy moves. I mean, daggone, we should have known it was bad when they put in a bunch of freaking game passes and stuff like that into Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. I knew that they were desperate for money, but my goodness, I didn't know that they were this hard up for it. And that's a shame, because like I said, the game itself is actually really fun, and they went through and marred it with some of the worst business transactions that I've ever seen, and they still haven't fixed their freaking PC version. So, should you buy this in 2026? No, especially if you're on PC. If you're on console, I would wait until it was on sale before you even did it. Thank you guys for watching. I've been BubbaTV24. If there are other things that I missed about this, be sure to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Signing out.